Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. I'm blessed with another day in my life into 15 Rabi'ul Awal 1442. Actually, this is the 1st of November 2020, year of the pandemic. All right, now before I go on, please, uh, 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 my I would encourage you to watch this video if you're in the mosque listening to the Friday prayers khutbah, and or also you're probably in some religious lessons or events anywhere in the world. Please turn off this video. Yes, thank you YouTube for this amazing, wonderful, wunderbar platform that we are able to share knowledge and provide information and educational information to those, especially students, academicians, and all other industrial staff who are not able to get into public training or any professional training due to the pandemic, due to the movement control order, or uh, public training by professional trainers like myself is rather costly. Okay, so here we are in this video, and today I am furthering into my endeavor in linking the safety health management systems and that of the environmental management system by looking at one important process, well, at least in Malaysia, because we have now a number of coal-fired power plants. So let's take a look at the crusher. Okay, and yeah, not forgetting subscribers, viewers, thank you very much. I hope this would bring happiness and benefit to you. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, this is actually an old picture. I think taken in the year 2002. I was there. Yes, that's me in my mid or early 40s. I've got two engineers. The one on the left is an environmental science graduate, and on the right side of this picture is a chemical engineer. We train them and they are following me for the audit, and we are auditing one of the earliest coal-fired power plant in this country. And this is one of the various types of crusher machines that I think it's not the primary crusher. This is, I think, the secondary crusher or tertiary crusher. It could be the jaw type. All right, so here we are in this activity, which is coal crusher. That's how I put it. And it is very important when we address environmental management, especially when we are establishing the environmental aspect impact register. To begin with the activity, I've been telling this since what, 1997, 98, and still some made mistakes, but those under my supervision were able to do it accordingly. And let's take a look. This is the activity. Right. One of the environmental concern is, of course, the coal dust particles that would have been emitted, that is being emitted from this machine. As you could see, there are some stains of coal dust over here and all the connectors, and right down here, this is actually after this machine was cleaned up prior to the audit, but never mind. Our concern is the coal dust. Yes, of course, a lot of coal dust actually accumulated here despite the cleanup. So there's a lot of vibration, it's noisy, and yeah, if I think if you are in the coal-fired power plant industry, you know this better than I do, and you could explain this machine much, much better with a vast knowledge. But for me, as an environmental a resource person, my concern, one of the concern over here, amongst the various or an array of environmental aspects that you could name of from this activity, our main concern is to look at one of them, which is coal dust particles, which are being emitted, which are being released, from this actually containment. Okay, it's a crusher, it's a contained, closed system, but due to vibration, mechanical parts, shakes, and those closed compartment can get some opening and releases all this coal dust, which is finer dust. This is more like a jaw type, or what do you call it, shear type sort of crusher to get smaller particles of coal. Now, what's the effect to safety? Let's take a look. We are linking them, all right? So we'll come to the environmental management parts later, slightly later after this. Now, the coal dust is an environmental aspect. Remember, it is an output aspect from this process. The input is the coal. We're not talking about the rest yet. Just concentrate on the coal, where these coal dust particles originate from. All right, the smaller rocks of coal gets into this perhaps shear type or jaw type crusher, and gets crushed further, finer particles of coal, so it releases coal dust. Now, how does it affect safety? Let's take a look. Look, the airborne coal dust is in fact a potential hazard. Now, safety health officer, industrial hygienists, resource persons, and safety and health, please add in, and please correct me if I'm wrong over here. I am not the expert in safety and health. Other than that, potential hazard is heat and noise and vibration coming from this machine. So for the airborne coal dust, how does it affect health? Take a look. Here you are. This is the link. And probable potential risk is some issues with the workers' pulmonary respiratory system. And the airborne coal dust can have flashpoint. It can lead to explosion, well, spark. I mean, coal is inflammable, but some of the coal, when it is in finer form, it may have a lower flashpoint. I may be wrong. You got your health safety expert by your side. You got to consult them, not me. And there are some incidents of fire. So for all these potential risks, explosion, fire, and injured person or fatality, let's take a look at what has this actually explosion and fire is actually potential hazard. Am I right? And the potential risk is actually injury and fatality. I'm sorry. So this explosion and fire has got to be here actually. All right. Am I right? Well, let's discuss. It has got to be in that way. That would be potential hazard. Risk over here is probably injury, fatality, anoxia. Okay, so yeah, as you go on, we'll check all this out. So please, safety health officers, you know better than I do. So let's make that correction. And how does it affect an injured person? How does it affect environment? Well, injury, you got to address the injury, you got to attend to injury, you got to address wound, and these are all a lot of medical stuff that comes in, and that has caused the generation of environmental aspects in terms of medical waste, etc. That would be an impact to the environment after it's being disposed. It goes vice versa. Coal dust also can affect health in a way that it can cause a noxic condition or discomfort in the working conditions of our worker over here. And when a worker is in a bad health situation or discomfort in their work, they might not be able to adhere to the tedious safety procedures in the work that would cause some potential hazard and cause accident and fire and explosion. All right, and that when there is fire, explosion, and when there is a spillage, that will cause an effect to the environment in terms of spillage or fire damages and fire water rescue. All this would cause an impact to the environment. That's one part. Okay, now let's get into the environmental management system. We are addressing only one activity, and we are addressing only a few of the environmental aspects over here for the sake of this understanding. Now, here we are dealing with what we have here is coal dust particles. Look, again, remember, before or in order for us to determine exactly or appropriately what would be the associated environmental impact from coal dust particles is to look at the input output analysis of our activity over here, which is coal crusher. And we know for a fact that now coal dust particle is an output environmental aspect. So its associated probable environmental impact will have to be looked at its downstream life cycle. So from the life cycle perspective, downstream of coal dust particle is actually asking what happens next. What happened to the coal dust particle? How does it interact with the environment? Remember, environmental aspect interact or can interact with the environment. So upon interaction with the environment, the coal dust will definitely cause, as it enter the air, will cause air pollution. If it enters nearby ditches or waterways, it can cause what we've known as water pollution. It even gets into the coastal areas. It can cause sedimentation. It can cause shallowing of river water or even coastal lines if this power plant is in the coastal area. Okay. On top of that, the coal dust can settle. Well, upon suspended in the air for some time, it gets heavier and settles down onto the ground and cause soil contamination. So that is the associated environmental impact to coal dust being an output environmental aspect. Okay, now let's take a look at its brother, the coal stone, the parent, the coal stones, the raw mat that comes into this coal crusher. And it is an input or output. Coal stone comes into the activity, then they are classified as input aspect. So from the life cycle perspective, we need to go upstream in order to determine the potential environmental impact for the environmental aspect coal stone. So it is an input aspect, therefore its associated probable environmental impact shall be looked at the upstream segment of its life cycle. Where does it come from? That's another way of saying it, upstream. Where does it originate from? From resources, natural resources, coal mines. The more demand for coal, we are having this environmental impact known all over the world, resource depletion. And of course, if you look at coal mines, look at the structure, we are actually excavating, blasting all the coal resources from hills, and even encashment we got to dug into the mountain, or even deep shaft down to the bottom where the bulk of coal resides. And when we do that, we are tampering with the geological structure. When the mine is abandoned, it is a damaged geological structure. There you are, geological damage. All right, just pick one more environmental aspect for the discussion. Let's take a look at this machine. I'm not good. If you are in the this industry, you know this better. We are looking at some blower, some impactor, some call it that way. I remember auditing this, and it has got the blower has got a part called apron. I remember apron as a medical staff apron, but this one has got apron, and it has got some plates over the apron. The plates are those that is in contact with the coal, and either they sieve, or either they shear crushing, or what they call it, jaw, like a jaw crushing. So I'm not good. I learn in order to audit them correctly. I learned this process first prior to audit, and also during the audit. And the blower, I got hold of the MSDS, and some of the bar is white cast iron, and even some was ceramic. And it depends on the hardness of the materials that they've got to crush. The harder the material, for example, in metal recycling and all this, they might be using some kind of steel, alloy steel, and also manganese steel. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just learn from them. All right. So these are all materials. Our concern is the blow bar. Where does it come from? If it is an input, because I saw when we had this visit, this audit, when we went down to the warehouse, I was shown the used blow bar plate. Okay, and that is input, that is an output, so it's being replaced with a new blow bar or impactor plate for the apron, and it is made from metal, therefore, and one of them, the other variety was ceramic. So these are all input environmental aspect. The replacement part is an input. What sort of environmental impact would they cause? Remember, input environmental aspect, we got to look at the upstream of its life cycle. In other words, where does it come from? There you are. Natural resources, mining again, metals, ceramics, steel. These are all from metal fabrication plant, coming from smelters, coming from ingots, coming from metal ore, coming from mining work. Okay, so that is how we determine the associated environmental impact for the various types of coalstone, and so does the rest that you have in the list. This is how you think in order to determine the correct environmental impact to those respective environmental aspect. Do not be confused, because I saw in some register an input environmental aspect causes air pollution, which is not wrong, because in order to produce them as an input, uh, okay, In order to produce them as an input, it causes air pollution from the lorry that transport them or from the factory that produce them. No problem with that, nothing wrong with that, but except that in environmental management, we need to look at the life cycle perspective of that input and output aspect correctly so that we can manage this activity in the EMS system, in the ISO 14001 system. Now, these are some of the risks associated to this particular activity and also environmental aspects. Legal liability, as you know, air pollution has a law, and there's some toxic constituents in those airborne coal dust. Some contains mercury, cadmium, and even contains chromium. All right, and another risk is that all this dust can get into airborne or even in waterways and contaminate neighboring areas. It can go transboundary, so it's classified as a potential transboundary air pollutant. So what are the opportunities that we have in your environmental management system? Well, you can take a look at to improve and reduce coal dust, airborne coal dust, and to have a longer lifespan of this so-called blow bar, then we select for a higher quality coal, maybe subbituminous, okay, and it will be less stress on the impactor, for example. You know better than I do if you're in the industry. I am not, okay. And we can improve the system as well in terms of to reduce agitation, okay, and yeah, to dampen agitation by dampening all the potential vibration, to have a good mechanical maintenance so that vibration is reduced. Proper lubrication of all the moving mechanical parts, it would be less noisy, high grade greases or lube oil, etc., and a state of the art seal and a damper system. You are able to one would be able to reduce the vibrations significantly, and also its associated noise. All right, this is the best I could do for this video. I hope it has given a very clear understanding, of the relationship between environment, safety and health, and especially if you're doing an integrated system. I sincerely hope that this video would help you, or at least if you're doing environmental management system ISO 14001, you are now guided in a proper manner how to look for environmental impact from those various types of environmental aspect. Remember, input, output. Output aspect shall go downstream to determine its associated impact, and input aspect shall go upstream to determine its environmental impact. That's about it. Thank you very much, YouTube. Thank you for your time. Thank you, subscribers, viewers. I wish I could do more. So experts, safety, health, resource person, please add on if there's anything missing down here. I apologize if there's shortcomings. Thank you very much for the time. As a Muslim, I wish you in bahasa Melayu, semoga dikurniakan apa yang dihajat, dipohon dan dicita-cita, dipelihara daripada bala, bencana, musibah, penyakit serta maksiat, dan dikurniakan kesenangan, keselamatan, kesejahteraan, kebahagiaan dan kejayaan kehidupan kita di dunia dan di akhirat. Someone please translate that in English. Thank you very much. I wish everybody safe from COVID, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you in the next video, inshallah.